Good evening, welcome to the Goffstown Planning Board's Capital Improvement Committee meeting. This is our regularly scheduled meeting for tonight, and we'll begin with introductions, starting with Tim Searles.
Tim Searles, community member at large.
Jim Raymond, Sinole.
Tim Redmond, Planning Board.
Jim McInnes, School Board.
Davis Allen, community at large.
Joanne Jeffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Do we have any word from our Select Board rep?
No, I do not.
Okay. So we'll move on. Joanne, do you have anything that you want to report before we ask Scott to begin his presentation?
No, did everyone take a copy of the minutes that are on the
Oh,
table?
physical copy.
Missed that.
Thank you.
So there's no need to read them right now, folks. We'll vote on them at the next meeting. Everybody has a chance to read them, and in case you have any corrections that need to be made, they won't be forgotten.
I just give these back to
Okay,
Joanne.
sounds good, thank you.
Your next meeting is not until July 16th, I think.
Last year, we asked about condensing that last year, Joanne, the end of the program, and is that not possible, that we don't get it over quicker?
We may be able to condense a few, but the next meeting is the busiest. There's
Yeah.
police, fire.
I mean, it's a full month from now. We're missing one in the middle. Is that due to a holiday?
Well, yes, because it's the week of the 4th of July.
That would have been the 4th of July weekend?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then the next weekend is planning, next week is planning board.
Okay, and then 2 weeks to that, and then... All right. Very good, thank you. Anybody have anything, members have any thing to bring up to the staff before we get started?
I was just wondering, in my binder, I'm not sure if everyone else is like that, but I really only got 2 of those papers with like plans on it for the school board.
Well, we got 2 maps in our binder,
Yep.
and then we got their matrix.
Okay.
So there's a matrix?
Yes,
Actually,
I
there's
do have
3.
the matrix.
No,
And then
Tim,
there are,
I stand corrected, there's
2
2
plans.
pages each, these 2 plans.
Yeah.
So you're mentioning how there's only 2 summary worksheets?
Yeah, I was just making sure there wasn't more.
no.
So
Yeah, that's
all, okay.
what I got as well.
Alright.
All right, at this time, I'd like to have Scott begin his presentation, and for the record, sir.
Sure. My name is Scott Gross. I'm the operations manager for SAU 19. I'm here tonight representing the school, Goffstown School District, for their capital improvements plan, the matrix. What I would say is that for the most part, there weren't a whole lot of changes. We did add a couple of projects, and that's why there's those summary sheets for those projects, but for the most part, everything that was from last year or prior years is also here on this particular matrix. When you look overall, you'll see that the school district, you'll see 2829 of bond, and I will share with you that the chances of that are super slim, simply because the school district really needs state aid to do these types of projects. And in order to get into the queue for that state aid, it takes a couple of years to get into the queue. And unfortunately, the funding in that queue is minimal. When I say minimal, it's about $50 million every year. And the Concord Middle School project sucked up like a whole biennium worth of funding just on one school. So how the state, what's the word I'm looking for, how they score, the school districts for these bonds or for renovations, we would score very middle of the pack. They tend to place a lot of weight. Is it an old school that is like really kind of falling apart, that goes way up? Are there hardships? Is the community, is it a considered property poor community? All those things, and we don't really hit the criteria, unfortunately, for, for those things. That being said, there's also not a ton of funding. So I wanted to just let you know that right off the bat. And then I ran into Tim just the other day, and we were talking about the placeholder for a school. Same thing. I mean, it's a placeholder. We will, if you believe that you don't want to see placeholders on there, great, we'll remove it going forward, but try to put that like way out. In order to do like school or or a massive renovation, you're looking to get like that 30 to 45% state aid, and the odds of us getting it are like slim, like uber slim. So we keep keeping it on there to let the community and this committee and planning board know that these are things that are kind of needed. But the reality on the funding side, it's just not there. But just wanted to be open and candid about that piece. Mr. Chair, do you want me to kind of go through each school and then ask if there are any questions, or what is your preference?
Well, I try to focus on this year's requests.
Okay,
Only because if we spend a lot of time on the outlying years, we all know how fluid those things are.
Gotcha.
So sometimes you might give us a nice presentation and then suddenly it's moved out or out. So if there's anything in particular you want to touch on in the out
Okay.
years, we're welcome to listen,
yeah,
but we appreciate.
okay.
I do have a question for you, Tim. You've shown on, and maybe you can touch on this, Scott, 2028-29 is the bonded event, and as you described, last year, some of the group like Tim weren't here, Tim Searles, your current funding is both bond and lease, which is essentially
Municipal
the
lease,
same.
yeah.
But if that bond is not feasible to obtain, is there a reason to put those back as just regular expenditures
Yes,
as
and
you have in the past and sprinkle them
Yes,
throughout the years?
so, I think going forward, we didn't get enough, we just had a school board retreat, just this past week where we typically talk about things, but, due to some time constraints, we weren't able to have that conversation, but yeah, I think we're gonna have to look at a different strategy, whether that be, tax appropriation, capital reserve fund, municipal lease, to try to do it in smaller chunks, on some of these things, so.
But by, essentially, you're losing a year on that discussion.
Yeah.
Because, well, no, some of these weren't gonna be in the immediate
Right,
this year anyway, but in the past, we've seen you spread out those smaller projects throughout. We're not seeing it now.
Right.
And so by, pushing it out, you're delaying some of them beyond when you might otherwise do that? Is that a concern?
yes and
or-
no, and I think I can give you like one example of like on the first page. So, and again, I have to kind of preface this by, and I don't want to go into so much detail with current legislation, but I have to in this particular case. So there is,
Well, are we gonna go through the matrix first, Scott, or are we gonna talk about your projects that are in the binder?
I can do whatever
Let's
you want.
let's do the projects in the binder.
Sure.
The,
So, if that's the case, there are two projects, and I will talk to you about the first one, which the school board on Monday has given administration, they want more detail regarding the project, and that is the expansion of the Goffstown High School parking lot. So if you go to project, I think it's number 77,
on the matrix.
on the matrix, it is.
Oh.
Yes, it's line number 77 on
Right,
the
it is
matrix.
77 in the.
Right, and that's at the high school. And that is one where the funding source is impact fees. And essentially, you should have a diagram of that. So the existing parking area, this would extend it to behind the end zone of the football field or the playing surface. The diagrams that you saw, I want to thank Goffstown DPW, our town engineering department did this as a favor to the school district, which very much appreciate that, to see what a concept would look like. So you'll see here that, it does add additional parking. You probably heard a lot of issues regarding high school parking. We made some changes at Barnard Park with more restricted parking for the town, and just more students, the need for more student parking, not just for the day, but for also other events that go on. It's a popular venue for the community. So this is the conceptual for that. The school board has given the green light to the administration to do a more in-depth, discussion on details. So I'm meeting with, my hope is to meet with DPW and our town engineering department in mid-July. I talked to Joanne yesterday as well. I did contact Eversource, so in terms of easements, they're fine. There's some conditions there with regard to not paving, I think an 8-foot diameter around some of the poles. We're gonna have somebody take a look at to see if there's any type of wetland issue. So they're gonna look at that. So we're kind of doing some of our due diligence so we can go back to the school board in late August to say, okay, here's what we think our pricing is, here's what it is in terms of design, et cetera. So more to follow on that one. But this is a project that looks like it has some potential for whether it be late fall or early spring of the next year, that it has merit. So I don't know if there's
Do we have any questions on this project before we move on to the next one from anybody on the committee?
All right, if they're seeing none, then the next one is a varsity baseball field. So I'm sure you've heard that the Allard family, who was super generous in terms of allowing our JV team to play on their field, they are repurposing their own property, which is their prerogative certainly. Very thankful for them for all the years they've supported the school district. That being said, the school owns land behind the high school, and we did, again, DPW did just a preliminary concept of what that might look like. Obviously, it would be elevation changes, but that price tag looks like it's easily $1 million, and that doesn't include fences and scoreboards and all the other fun stuff. So this one right now is on a holding pattern simply due to funding. So.
And that's in this year's matrix?
Yeah. In terms of, no, it's in, that one is in 28,
27,
29.
28,
Yeah.
okay.
Now again, it's a little bit confusing because we're on a different fiscal year, but, so that one's in the out, a little bit out.
Next year after.
Yeah. So those are the only really new things. Getting back to what I was saying, before to Jim's question about, hey, you lump these things together before they were kind of spread out. We learned about 2 weeks ago that there is a House Bill 1610 that has passed the House and Senate, and it would force the liquidation of the school district's 5% contingency fund, or for unplanned or emergency type, events or expenses, which is devastating because it's something that the voters approved twice. It was something that it took us 6 years to build up. We've used it a couple of times already. Once when we had to deal with tiles lifting at the high school and asbestos, it was an important thing.
Could you please explain to the committee and the public the source of that funding?
The source of the funding is a combination of underspend of the budget and or extra revenues that you did not anticipate. And what it does is it allows you to set aside a certain percentage of, it's not of your budget, but it's of the local tax effort, school tax effort, where you can set it aside. It's a valuable tool to have for tax rate purposes, so when you estimate revenues, if those revenues fall short, you can use that balance sheet item of those contingency funds to smooth out the tax rate. It's used for unplanned type things, like I mentioned. It's also there for special education purposes. So the school district was contemplating creating a special education revolving fund for a special needs student that moves into our district. So we had that like 2 to 3 years ago, where a student required a residential placement and it cost $550,000. And you don't have that money. If you had it in a revolving fund, you're good. But this is a fund that you could use to use those monies, because you don't get the money from the state, you know, until a year after. So you'd have to like freeze your budget. So it's a really, really valuable tool, and I remain hopeful that the governor will veto it. But that being said, the school board did take some actions, because what that does is then it artificially lowers your tax rate next year. It is a lot of, you know, it makes your tax rate more roller coastery, and not to mention the fact that we have used this as a tool as our planning. So it screws everything up, essentially. So one of the things that the school board did was they took votes to essentially encumber or to retain funds, one of which is on page 1. So line number 2 is roof section at Bartlett School. They did encumber funds to do that roof section. So if this passes, the school district will, you know, they're going to work on some of these CIP items with those funds.
Are you in the matrix now, Scott?
Yes, that would be matrix line number. It's on my sheet. It's number 2. I don't know.
And
It
what
says
year, and what's the
2.
dollar amount?
I believe I have to see what.
It's not on ours.
Yeah, it's on.
You don't have that?
Nope.
I have it. Like, am I looking at? Can you give me your sheet then? I don't have a copy of yours.
Our version is
This is the one you
42426,
gave.
Scott.
Or
What's your
Dave Patty.
version, Scott, at the top on the header?
Yeah, same thing.
Well, it didn't come.
See, I'm looking at project number 2 on your sheet. And
Roof
it's on mine
replacement,
too.
section A, original
Yes,
building?
yeah.
We have nothing in there for 2526.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is correct, Mr. Chair. I apologize. What I was trying to state was that there are some projects that we would do and they'd be completely off the matrix. So
Oh.
I'm sorry if I.
Oh, we're looking for numbers on a matrix.
Yes, I apologize. I heard something from our IT director last year about perhaps you did not want to see IT equipment on this matrix, if that's true.
We had a discussion about this 8 years ago or something.
Okay.
The rule was 5-year lifespan.
Okay,
Is that still currently in place, Joanne? 5 years? Any,
That's in the definition of.
that's in the
capital.
definition. And we were told by the IT department that computers become obsolete in 2 to 3 years. So a computer that's obsolete in 2 years is not eligible
Okay.
for CIP, only because it doesn't meet the threshold for a replacement.
okay,
And we said we wanted to see you budgetize that rather than CIP it.
okay. The reality of it is, and obviously Dan's on the school board, like, we're holding on to these laptop carts for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years, so well more than 5. And
Good.
these Promethean boards are 9 to 10 years old now, so I think.
They meet the
Okay,
standard.
okay, good.
So let's go with the 26 to 27.
And so we're good on page 1?
Mr. Chair,
Please.
can I ask 2 questions regarding the worksheets before we get too far into the
Go ahead.
matrix? So comparing the 2 projects, the parking lot and the baseball field, on the worksheets provided, the parking lot says for the year 26-27, the baseball field says for the year 27-28. But on the matrix for those projects, so that's page 3 of the matrix, the last 2 at the bottom, they are shifted a year
I see.
further out.
Yep,
And I was just
okay,
wanted
I
to
will-
clarify
I'll
which
make that.
one is the correct
It should be
years.
26, 27 for, they should be earlier.
Okay,
I
so the
apo-
sheets are accurate.
Yes.
The
I-
matrix is not.
I apologize, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So you'll move, when we get over to that, Scott, we'll move it into the correct column.
Yes.
After you speak about it.
Okay,
Thank you.
and I apologize for that.
So, board members, so committee members, we're on page 1 of the matrix. There are there are laptop cart replacements in one place only, no, 2 places. And the Promethean boards are in the outline here in 27, 28, right, Scott?
Yes. But I should also share with you that we if we are forced to liquidate this, we would then bump this up a year. So, for some of them, not all, we talked about at the school board meeting, a partial replacement of those boards. I think it's like 25 to 30% of the boards would be replaced, so we would bump that up 1 year.
Joanne, are we getting sheets on all these items?
No.
Submission sheets?
We haven't done that in 2 years.
No, only,
How come?
only the ones that they feel that you need the additional information. We stopped that, when we changed the rules of procedure about a year or two ago.
Okay.
So they went to trying to make it a little less cumbersome with all the paperwork.
So we're relying on the memos for the rationale and the explanation?
Yes,
The little two-line thing there, so they can really condense it down to almost no explanation in my book?
yes, but then when they come in person, they can elaborate on that.
Okay. Scott, please continue.
All right, sir. So again, there's really nothing on page 1. We would then go to page 2. There's nothing in this 26-27 school year for Glen Lake School. For Mountain View, we are looking at an expenditure to test the septic system. It's original to the school.
Scott, let's just let's go in line, because 26-27 at Mountain View starts with an addressable fire panel, number 28.
Right, but
Where is this?
26, 27,
No,
That's 25, 26, that's the current year.
that's the septic
That's
Oh,
is
my
the
mistake,
first.
I looked at the wrong line, I apologize. Go ahead, Scott.
okay,
My-
so again, septic system testing, the septic, the leach field, et cetera, they are, in case you didn't know, I think 2, if not 3 of them are underneath the parking lot.
Great spot.
I don't know, like, I wasn't here for that one. Jim, you were, so we'll blame you, but,
I'm just coaching soccer, don't blame me.
The state allows it.
yeah, no, I know, it's just weird, but,
Lack of other space to put it, no doubt.
yeah. And then there's other fields that are on the baseball field, and there's like a soccer field. But anyway, we do want to kind of, do some investigation on those because of their age. Going in that same 26-27 school year, again, the computer lab replacement, laptop cart replacement, and
What is a computer lab?
a computer lab. So we have them at both the middle school and the high school. So the generic answer is that if you have certain courses that have dedicated standalone, let's say desktop computers, for high school would be something like, say, CAD design, music where they're doing music, or video production would be another one. I'm trying to think of science. Sometimes there's like a lab where they're doing it's a specific computers for a class, not ones that are on a mobile cart. So they are more stationary, fixed. They don't roll around from classroom to classroom, and typically they involve higher level graphics. So the memory cards or the graphic cards are higher end than you would need on a traditional laptop, because of the class that's being taught. So more so, we have more of them at the high school than we do at the middle school. I think we have 2 at the middle school, but that's what those are. They're
And
fixed.
how long does a computer lab last?
Typically 8 years,
Okay.
but it depends. Unfortunately, we've had to stretch them out to like 10 years, so
Okay.
which stinks. But
Yep. And you're planning, the school funding for that is from your budget?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So we've been fortunate enough to have those in our budget, and we put in escalators. I would also note that we are in a period right now where it's arguably worse than COVID for computer equipment. You might be hearing that more on the town side as well, on the IT side, but it is absolutely ridiculous what's going on. The supply chain is horrible. A lot of these chips are being used for AI, and we're seeing, to give you a good example, we just bought laptops, the ones that we bought last summer that replaced our teacher laptops. that particular one, which is this one here, was $850. It's now $1,200. 1,200. So, we're in rough shape with that. We're hopeful that all this stuff, whether it be tariffs or the chip stuff, will settle down, but it's brutal, right now. So I think that was it. It was mostly IT related things, on that second page as well for 26 and 27.
So go to line 44, Scott.
Yes,
Now, you say you're gonna replace them on a 4-year cycle. 5-year lifespan. Remember the numbers in our,
yes, no, I hear you. I think,
so if
There- there's-
you're gonna stretch them out,
yeah,
then they can stay in. But if you're gonna have them set on a 4-year schedule,
Yeah.
they they're not eligible.
I'm glad that you said that because I think our goal would be try to do 4 years. So the goal would not fit CIP, the reality fits CIP. So,
And you're taking them out of the budget, so
yeah,
this is kind of a
gray area.
push and shove
Yeah.
area, because if you've already budgeted the money for them, I don't know they necessarily have to be in CIP, in my opinion. CIP is for stuff that's coming up, that's
Yeah.
unfunded, so we might wanna think about that in the future.
Okay, I'm just gonna make a note. Okay.
I know, I'm gonna go to my guru, Jim, what about items that are budgeted, do they need to be in
Well,
CIP?
whether it's budgeted or not is separate, because there are different funding sources for the CIP projects. They can be out of appropriations or bonds or funds we've created, so that doesn't matter. What does matter is, really, is it big enough to require a planning function? And an example would be an annual expenditure of something that doesn't last long. Well, that's just, we don't need to see that for our planning purpose, because, it's a planning tool. So, yeah, you're right, it's scheduled to have a 4-year lifespan. In reality, it goes longer. So, do we want to see it or not? I suppose having it in doesn't.
The other thing
Change
too,
up
Scott,
price.
about budgeted items, it inflates your bottom line for CIP requests.
Yeah.
Because normally CIP requests are, this is the first time I've ever seen a budgeted CIP request in all the years.
No, we've had them. It's just,
Well, I've always seen, we need a bond for this, we need a tax appropriation, and,
I disagree with that, because it's tax appropriation, though. It still has to pass the budget.
but it's already in the budget, according to him.
Well, but our budget is just a planning tool, has to get passed and go through budget committee, so.
It doesn't seem to fit my model. Go ahead.
If I may, one of the things that happened, and Richard, I'm not sure if you were on the budget committee at that time, but we didn't have as a robust tool like this. I don't know if we took it, maybe we didn't take it seriously, but the budget committee really said, hey, you gotta do a much better job putting things on your CIP matrix. That was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I can tell you that from our perspective, having even these laptop cards, it is helpful, because it forces you to say, oh yeah, we've got this to be concerned about. We'll do, if at the end of the day you want us to remove it, we'll do whatever you want. It helps though in terms of, we're so much better off now in terms of at least listing the things that are coming up for potential replacement, et cetera. So that was, for us, if I look back, say 6 years ago, we didn't have anything even remotely like this. Now granted, it's a long document, but it does list a lot of the very valuable assets that we have, and when do you need to be worried about replacing them, even though you push stuff out. So I just want to leave it at that. So that's kind of where we are with that one. The next page is this would be page 3 for you as well. High school, am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay. So for the high school, you'll see generator there. We have been trying to get a FEMA grant, and we're still in the works for that. It's been going on for long time. We've been trying for years, but we just recently, last year we put in, they came back. They wanted it resized because they felt that the school shelter portion was only the gym and beyond, and we were trying to get more than that. So the fire chief has been helping us on this project, so we're uncertain if we will get this grant or not. And I should let you know that, and again, I can make the adjustment here, but it looks like that's gonna, we got a recent re-estimate on that, and it's 500,000, not 300,000.
So the appropriation for 25-26, what happened with that, Scott? That's being moved forward now?
We had to move it forward, and then,
So that was not expended?
no, because we never got, we thought we were gonna get a grant for it, and then we had to then reapply, they changed the rules. And I think on this one, we know that it's a $500,000 check.
So we need to change that line from 300,000 to 500,000?
Yeah.
On your matrix,
Yeah.
everybody. Okay,
Nothing else on that page except for the revision that you mentioned on line 77. It should say 500,000 in 26-27.
so
And-
we're moving it back from 27 to 28.
Right, and based upon what I heard from the school board on Monday, keeping the $1 million in 28-29 where it is, would make sense, and maybe change it on the worksheet, because I don't think that, Dan, you think that would be accurate reading of the tea leaves, or?
Yes.
Okay,
There's a lot at play there.
right.
Yeah.
Where is that, Scott?
That was line number 78. So right now, it has $1 million in it to construct a varsity baseball field on the campus based on the loss of using Allard Park. But on the worksheet, I think I had a different date. I think I had 27-28, and it should say 28-29, because that,
So that, it's in the right place on the matrix?
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Next page, again, we're still on, we start with project 79. Let's see, 80 is laptop cart replacement, computer lab replacement. Those are the only two items there. District, seal, again, seal coating, line striping. This was another one where Randy gave me feedback from last year. Is this maintenance versus CIP? You know, it's expensive to do this type of thing, but we're putting what our costs are. It might not meet your definition. If that's the case, I can remove it going forward.
It says 3 years, every 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, even still, isn't that a maintenance item?
Yes,
like
and that's
Scott's
what-
saying?
yeah.
That's not something I think that really qualifies
Okay,
for.
so I'm gonna remove that going forward.
The seal coating?
Yeah, that would be line 86. And then going down a couple of lines, 89, custodial cleaning equipment. You know, typically this is the same thing where this is like 7, 8, 9, 10 years for some of this custodial cleaning equipment. These are like those scrubbers and the ride-on scrubbers. You know, typically we get, you know, pretty good life out of those. If you think it belongs, we'll keep it on. If not, we can take that off as well. Going down to line number 96, district firewall replacement. The only thing that I noticed when I reviewed it recently was, yes, that's appropriate where it's at, but the funding source is gonna be not the budget, but the capital reserve fund. So, that needs to be CRF. And then iPad replacements, and then these class VR virtual reality kits. That's kind of a new thing that the state is requiring. So that'll probably be a budget item, whether or not you think it belongs in CIP.
What is it?
It's virtual reality, like you
The headsets?
wear a headset.
If you're ever having a boring day, just come by, pop one on, go wherever you want.
When I was a teacher, I used to blackboard, so I'm a little behind the times, I guess.
Yes, sir, Jim.
I'm not, maybe Dan can help me on this one, but.
Okay, we don't have to go into it now,
Yeah.
but it just,
You can tell them about, well, after the meeting's over.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
just bring one to the next one.
Okay, yeah, do that,
We're
yeah.
not-
It's
we're not
pretty
doing
cool.
that.
It's buzz.
So Scott, then you get the last line, 100?
Right. Then the last line is the capital reserve fund deposit. You know, the guess is it'll be 300,000, I don't know. You know, my personal opinion is that it needs to be much, much, much higher than that, but that's a school board prerogative.
But isn't that, go back to the formulaic, that you're allowed to keep a percentage of your unexpended funds, which
No.
creates that?
It's a little bit different.
What is
So,
different then?
There's a capital reserve fund which is created for a specific purpose. So the one that the school has is for existing capital assets. What I had mentioned to you before, this 5% contingency fund, that one behaves more like, from an accounting perspective, like a balance sheet. You're allowed to keep certain monies on your balance sheet set aside. It's still in the same bank account, but it's just categorized for unplanned things. If the school board then can retain, they have the right to retain a certain percentage that the DRA says we can, up to 5%, but they
Right.
give us what that amount is. The school board then votes, they do a preliminary vote in June of every year before the fiscal year ends, and then depending upon their audit, they then do another vote before tax rate setting to see what they will retain on their balance sheet for unplanned. That was what I was mentioning before, that all of those funds would liquidate on June 30th of this year unless those funds are quote-unquote encumbered.
Unlike on the town side where they can retain their funds.
They can, but there are limitations on that now as well. So, based upon, it was, I don't know if it was binding or not, but there was a warrant article about,
I'm sure it was.
about that. So, really, that's the gist of it. I mean, I did want just, again, to elaborate that when you see these placeholders for schools or for bonds, the board is really gonna have to reevaluate. They're there as placeholders. When I do get a chance to talk to the board again, so Dan will get the preview tonight, is that we're gonna have to significantly rethink 28, 29 with the bond and start thinking about other strategies. We already, my initial thought process is another municipal lease. We have one that's gonna be expiring in about 2 to 3 years. It was a Honeywell one, which we currently have, don't quote me on it, $167,000 a year payment on that. That will end, and I think the board needs to think about, like, okay, we gotta think about another one to deal with air handlers and.
Is that with an escape clause, so you don't have to treat it as a bond?
Correct. It has what's called a non-appropriation language in it. Yeah, that's the only way you can do it.
So Scott, you're proposing the large bond in 28 and 29, right?
Yeah,
As it stands right now?
As it stands now, yes, but
For 13,631,
Yeah.
631,000?
yeah.
Where, do you show us the projection for the bond payment for that money? Is that the number down at the bottom
I
there?
thought we
Estimated
did.
lease and bond payments?
I thought we did, yeah.
Yeah, the
Yes.
last line,
Yeah.
324.
If
The
I
very
didn't, I
bottom of the
will,
page.
if I didn't, I will get it to you.
Page 4, very bottom of the page.
Yeah. Yes.
So I'm reading that it's basically in the second year of the payment of the bond, it's gonna be about $6.5 million a year bond payment for that. I
That should have been
understand that.
pushed out, so that's my fault on that one. The 6.5 should be in column PQ, all right?
In what?
It should be in, see there's a blank space, I didn't refresh that, unfortunately, so I am sorry for that. So you'll see where there's nothing in.
What line number, Scott?
Line number 324 of the, it's in yellow.
Yeah, that's what that is, that's 6.5.
That's in line 324 now.
Yeah.
Right, that should be pushed over one column, because that would represent the school, if you were to spend money on a school. So let me get with Joanne and I'll refresh those. I don't want to give you
Yeah.
bad numbers, okay? So if you could, let me do that. But what I wanted to share with you is we already have a municipal lease. If you were to bond these improvements that are needed, you know, and then if you were then to build another school. So when you look at those numbers, you know, having a 2.7 or $3 million annual payment on, let's say, a $13 million renovation bond. And then if you were to build a new school with a $6,500,000, I mean, these are numbers that are just mind-breaking. I mean, that's why I say they're placeholders. I mean, I don't see them happening. Just don't. So there has to be a different strategy.
And the numbers really don't jive either, because you have new elementary school in line 84 for 31, 32 at 100 million. But in your note down there, it says 70 million.
Yeah, I'll
But
fix
and then
that.
it says middle school.
Yeah, I'll
So
fix that.
Is there a $70 million middle school in
No.
this matrix?
No, this should not be. We did pivot to an elementary school, so I'll make that correction with Joanne.
And then above that is 20 million in repairs, and your
Yep.
bond is for 13. Mike, is that correct?
What page are you on now?
Yeah, I will fix that. That's not
Page
accurate.
4, Jim, at the very bottom, right by your fingertip?
Okay.
I'll fix that and I'll return it to Joanne. That's not accurate.
Okay. So, what we do here at CIP is we try to plan projects so we don't see fluctuations in the tax rate.
Right.
And the reason I asked about your bond payments, because even if in 26, 27, the appropriation is 18,864, the very last pay number in your book, it's substantially lower in the out years. But if it's, we don't know what the bond payment would be on that amount.
Right.
So we don't know if the tax rate is gonna go down that year artificially because the first year bond payment, or there's no payment at all
Yeah.
in the first year maybe. And then
Typically,
when
there's
you-
not a payment in the first year, but.
Right, so we need to, we don't wanna plan a matrix where you're
I
going
gotcha.
along like this for a while, then
Yeah.
you do this, then you come back down. That's
My
not how.
question on behalf of the school district is, does it help in terms of, like, if we're not doing these, like, the thought process was just put them at the end of the matrix, but if,
Well, this is why we talked last year with Randy.
yeah,
We thought that, I'm not saying we, because I don't speak for everybody, I thought that the bond is a great idea, except in the previous 2 years and the other post years, you're not asking for hardly anything,
right,
which creates that fluctuation.
right.
We
right.
thought that what you said earlier, they should be salt and peppered through the matrix and just put them on as appropriations
Yeah.
or whatever you need and get them done, because as you wait for the bond in 2 more years, inevitably the price is gonna go up.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not gonna be a very valid number
Yeah,
any longer.
but the other question Scott's asking, I think, is these projects that we know are out there, but you don't have a firm schedule for, do we want to show them? And it seems to me that we should, because, yeah, at some point we're going to need them, and they're large enough to,
Meet the threshold.
yeah, and they should affect our planning, even if they're not, we know their likelihood of their being constructed within or implemented within the 6 years is small. I think we have to know that they're out there, we being the community.
Yeah,
So I'd rather have them than ignore them, even if they're out here.
okay,
They're identified because they're a need, whether or not they're a realistic need.
Well, realistic from from
Yeah.
getting approved by voters,
That's what
but our goal is to identify needs.
All right,
But stacking them in 1 year and not spreading them out
Yeah,
creates,
yeah.
that goes against the basic premise of the capital improvement committee.
It does, but on these out-year plans, I'd still rather have them, even if they end up being stacked, at least there, and
Yeah,
not pushed off the
absolutely.
grid entirely.
So if Scott is showing, if the school department is showing these in the bond column, they could be moved out in the other years, out years, and then if the bond doesn't pass, at least they're in the out years and they're possibly scheduled to come for a decision.
I think when we talked about this a year or two ago at the school level was looking at like 3 or 4 years and then taking those projects and putting them all into one bond. And I think that was aspirational. I think the reality of it is that when you do the bond and you get state, and you're able to get state funding, it kind of makes sense because you can get 30% for elementary, 45%, let's say at the high school. But if you're never gonna get that money, then maybe that strategy doesn't work. So then you kind of have to resort back to the old way where we would spread it out over those 3 or 4 years, and so you wouldn't have like nothing, boop, bond, nothing. So I'll take that.
We expressed
under
that
advisement.
concern and previously, are you
Okay.
putting all your eggs in one basket?
Yeah. Okay, so you will see something different. I think next year, I think we have to probably more look at a municipal lease for some of these air handlers and air conditioning units and things like that, because they are big ticket items and they add up to millions, when you're looking at across the district, so. Okay.
What's your thoughts, Scott, on 2 large bonds within 2 years of each other also, because they both go to the voters? The maintenance bond for 13+ million.
Yeah, they
And
would.
then 2 years later, you're looking for another large bond for
Yeah.
a new school.
I'm
People get
I
weary
gotcha.
of more
Right.
tax dollars.
Yeah, I am personally, I can't speak for us,
No.
so I am personally of the mindset of not putting a new school even on this thing. It's just.
So it's a
unrealistic,
placeholder
but-
at this time, in your opinion?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think our pressing need, personally, from seeing all of this, is we've got to deal with roofs, air handlers, air conditioning, like those types of things, door, like those things, so.
It goes back to take care of what
What
you've
you
got
have.
before you start spending money on more new stuff.
Corrective, so.
Okay. It's easy to say, we'll fix it next year.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, so Joanne, I have my own copy. What I will do, if it's okay with you, is I'll make corrections and I'll color everything in red.
Okay.
Is that okay, that color?
Sure.
This way you know what I did, and then you can then just make it black once
Okay.
but at least you can visually see what
And
I
I'll check
adjusted.
it to my notes.
Okay? Does that, would that work?
Yeah.
Questions for the school department before, Scott concludes?
Are we envisioning having you coming back with
Well,
that?
that's what I was getting to.
If you need me
That's part
to.
of my routine right here.
Yeah, if you need me to. Yeah.
Well, that's why I want to know if there's questions.
Uh,
Because questions mean Scott has to come back
It's okay.
and give us another.
Well, if we're gonna see a revised, you're gonna take the lump, the big piece and spread it out?
I don't think I'm gonna do that now.
Okay, oh, you're just making minor
Just going to make the
adjustments?
corrections.
I'm gonna make
to the
those,
edit.
okay.
there was like 6 or 7, like
Okay.
your correction, I'm gonna do all those, the notes.
Okay,
you
no,
know, I'm gonna do all that. Next year, when I prepare this with the team, we'll do it, and obviously we're gonna have discussions with the school board, obviously, I can't do this on my own, but saying, okay, let's think about a different strategy here. This bond is clearly not gonna be a viable strategy given the conditions at the state level and what's budgeted at the state level.
Does anybody have any questions for Scott regarding his presentation tonight that would require him to come back for another visit? I don't have any.
If you do though later on, I'm in town. It's not-
Well, we have deliberations and
Yeah.
callbacks on our schedule, but
Okay,
generally that happens because we've had a major problem with one of your submission sheets. And
okay,
that gives you a time to figure it out and come back and explain further, but that's not the case here tonight.
Okay.
Some typos and number corrections. And you'll do that administratively with Joanne, and it'll make it onto the final matrix, and
Yeah.
that's where we'll go.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Anything else from the membership tonight?
Scott didn't have gray hair when he first started this job. When he was on the town side, it was
Come
all.
on,
It's
Buck.
his second year, right?
Yeah.
I wish.
You didn't
So-
get gray hair being a selectman, you never did.
So me being new, right, I'm struggling to understand the idea of, not the idea, but, so I'm looking at the definition of capital improvements, and, for example, an item that would be out of the budget, the CIP matrix, even though it should be budgeted, it's still gonna be shown on the CIP matrix.
We're just discussing that, and we're gonna have a discussion on that topic before this committee concludes, and we'll make a definitive decision as a committee on whether we wanna see budgeted items in the future or not.
Okay.
That's a committee decision, and I don't wanna take it up tonight because we have a lot of other presenters coming in.
Yeah,
And we'll see if that is a common theme among other presenters.
I
And we'll
understand.
go from there.
Alright, sorry.
Because Jim, we talk about how the numbers come down to the bottom line for tax purposes, and I still am concerned, as Tim is, because it's inflating the number that the school board is presenting, because it's already in your budget. It's not-
I don't agree with you, but we can talk about
We
it
can talk
when
about it.
when you want to do it.
Yep.
But I see that as just different funding sources and how to pay for it.
Okay. Thank you, Scott, for
Thank
coming
you
in.
very much.
Motion to adjourn.
Not yet.
Decline.
Joanne, we have Parks, Police, and Fire at the next presentation. Is there a reason why we have 3 in one meeting and then 1 the following time?
What's the following one?
Public Works.
That's because that one is usually the largest.
But if we stick to the program and we only look at what's coming up this year, Adam gets through it pretty quickly. He only really is looking at vehicles and capital projects. And so if one of those 3, Park, Police, or Fire, would be willing to come in on the 30th, we can spread out that agenda a little bit over 2 meetings instead of having a super long Thursday on the 16th and a short Thursday on the 30th.
Okay.
Just see if anybody's willing to move around a little bit.
So you want the 30th of
July,
July?
if
Okay.
possible, if one of those 2 would move.
Okay.
And then the 6th, the Thursday, the 6th is extremely short. The library and the sewer commission is extremely short. All right. Anybody else have anything? We have a motion on the floor to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Anybody second it?
Second.
Seconded by Richard. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you, GTV, we are adjourned.